Hi, my name is Morgan Evans, and I did my video on the Salem witch trials because the idea of a group of law-abiding Christians suddenly losing their minds and killing each other back to back over seeming accusations of witchcraft has always been an interest of mine. Exactly what caused these people to behave this way and the social effects that it had. The reason that it started, it was suspected, was because the winter before, it was cold and it was wet, and that is the perfect conditions for ergot and the rye to grow, and rye bread was a very big staple good at the time. Sorry, my nephew's right behind me. But rye was a big staple good in the at the time, so everybody had eaten this tainted rye, and the consumption of this tainted rye had a lot of similar effects as LSD. So everybody was hallucinating and seeing things that weren't there, which is why many of the accounts were often strange, talking about people flying or seeing yellow birds pecking out other people's eyes. Just all of these crazy accusations that were in no way true. Another reason may have been the fact that these kids had been talking about witchcraft before, because it was proven that before, the slave woman Tituba, which is actually the first person to be arrested for witchcraft, had told them about the African American traditions that she performed in Barbados, which is where she was from, which often talked about witchcraft and other things. There were significant deaths, and very few of them had any sort of very few had any sort of reasoning aside from personal bias. And there was nobody burned at the stake. As most people think of the witch trials, they think of people being burned at the stake. That was often more of a European thing. But the others were hanged in Salem. They were hanged in Salem, either that or died in prison, or one other example being Giles Corey, who was pressed to death with rocks. They stuck him between two boards and crushed him to death between these rocks, and he refused to give any sort of inclination as to whether or not he was a witch.